This is the Energy Makers Show, featuring the innovators, financiers, and policymakers focused on the global energy demand. Brought to you by NRG, moving clean energy forward. And here's your host, Paul Dickerson.
Hi, I'm Paul Dickerson, and welcome to another episode of the Energy Makers Show. First up, Soll Sussman, coordinator of the U.S.-Mexico Border Energy Forum, helping coordinate and finance some of these energy projects between the U.S. and Mexico. Next up, Matt Gelotti, a vice president at Aon Energy and board member and leader of the Houston chapter of the Young Professionals in Energy. All that right after this.
Where will the energy come from to move us forward? From natural sources in abundant supply, or perhaps a man-made source? At NRG, we believe innovation will solve our energy needs. That's why NRG is moving away from fossil fuels towards wind, solar, and other sustainable technologies to power the smart grid, the electric car, and our clean energy future. We're using all of our energy to develop more of it.
This is the Energy Makers Show, brought to you by NRG, moving clean energy forward. And now, back to the Energy Makers Show with your host, Paul Dickerson.
Welcome to another episode of the Energy Makers Show. We have with us today Soll Sussman, the coordinator of the U.S.-Mexico Border Energy Forum. Soll, great to have you on the program.
Good to be here today, Paul.
So tell us about the forum.
Well, the forum started with our agency, the Texas General Land Office, back in 1994, when we thought it was more important that people in Texas know what was happening on our border. Simple concept, but at that point, there wasn't a regular dialogue about energy going on. So we wanted to bring people together to make that happen.
Well, and it's out of the Texas Land Office.
That's right.
That surprised, and I think may surprise some of our viewers. What's the connection?
Well, the Texas General Land Office is a unique state agency in that we actually manage state lands to make our energy resources make money for the Permanent School Fund of Texas. So we're very aware of business and business opportunities, but we're also very aware that air quality and water quality affect the value of state lands. So we wanted to make sure that there was adequate information about energy markets that affected our business, as well as trying to make sure that there were adequate programs in place to protect our air and water quality.
All right. Well, when's your next forum?
The next one is October 22nd to 24th, 2012 in Hermosillo, Sonora, which is south of Arizona.
All right, and do they always occur in Mexico or the U.S.? How does that work?
Right, it alternates each year between the United States and Mexico, and we're really excited actually that the 2012 forum will be in Sonora because that's the only state of the 10 U.S. and Mexican border states that hasn't hosted the Border Energy Forum yet. So in 19 years we will have hit just about everywhere we could have been.
That's fantastic. All right, so when one of our viewers wishes to attend, when they show up, what will they see?
They'll see leaders in government, both federal, state, and local, from both sides of the border. They'll see business people, and we try to bring together energy producers, energy distributors, energy developers, as well as industrial consumers of energy. And they'll also see NGOs and academic researchers. We try to bring everyone to the table to come up with the best solutions possible.
Well, and I've attended a few of these, and the pro-business atmosphere I found fantastic. That here we have this land office working to bridge the gap between businesses in the U.S. and in Mexico, either through introductions or even financing.
Right. Well, I think that was one of the original reasons for the land office getting involved. If you think back almost 20 years now, energy was an extremely sensitive issue because of Mexicans' concerns about sovereignty over their oil and gas reserves. And we knew that first of all, the land office is in somewhat of a similar role because we manage mineral rights for the benefit of the Permanent School Fund, but we also are a state agency. We're not going anywhere. We're not trying to take over anyone. So we could offer a neutral ground for some of these discussions.
Well, tell me about this North American Development Bank and their role in promoting. I think that'll be new to some of our viewers.
Right. There are two sister agencies. One is the Border Environment Cooperation Commission, which is based in Juarez, and the North American Development Bank, which is based in San Antonio. And these were formed with the NAFTA Treaty, the North American Free Trade Agreement, back again about 20 years ago. And the idea was the bank is financed half and half by the Mexican and U.S. governments to finance infrastructure projects that are going to be needed as trade increases. So they started working strictly on water and wastewater projects, but they've expanded that mandate to include clean energy projects. And they're really looking for renewable energy and energy efficiency projects that can be financed. Their territory runs 300 kilometers south of the U.S. border and 100 kilometers north of the U.S. border, from San Diego to Brownsville.
What sort of renewable or energy efficiency interest is there in Mexico?
Well, it's huge. I think when we started the forum on both sides of the border, we didn't see all that much interest in renewables. It's increased enormously over the past 20 years. But many people aren't aware that that's happening in Mexico, too. There are wind projects in southern Mexico, and now there are also wind and solar projects in every, either already underway or in development in most of the northern border states. So it's been a huge change.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I love that this brainchild came from someone who truly understands the continent, because your career has spanned Canada, U.S., and Mexico. Can you tell us a little bit about your own history and then how you convinced the land office to make this happen?
Right. Well, thank you. You're very kind. I was a journalist. I was with the Associated Press based in Mexico City. I, of course, had been a journalist in the United States before that. And after 7 years in Mexico City, I was transferred to Toronto to be Canadian Bureau Chief for the AP. So, and that was at the time that the NAFTA Treaty was being negotiated. So I had a chance to see it from south of the border and north of the border. When I decided that it was time to come back to the United States, I was fortunate enough to get a position at the Land Office, which has been a terrific place to work for more than 20 years now. And because of our energy programs, we found that there were natural partnerships with Mexico. Texas, the cliche is that Texas is a lot closer to Mexico City than it is to Washington. And so it was, if you're talking about energy exports, you're going to be looking to what's possible right across the border.
Sure. Well, I tell you, I'm very impressed with the forum. I know our viewers will be excited to learn more. I appreciate you coming by today.
Thank you for having me.
And that concludes our discussion with Soll Sussman. We'll be back with more right after this.
The future is here.
You can't see it. It's electric.
At NRG, we're providing clean energy and now charging stations to make the electric car a reality. Kinda makes you want a boogie woogie, doesn't it? NRG, moving clean energy forward.
It's electric.
This is the Energy Makers Show, brought to you by NRG, moving clean energy forward. And now back to the Energy Makers Show with your host, Paul Dickerson.
Welcome back to the Energy Makers Show. Our guest now, Matt Gelotti, Vice President at Aon Energy and a Houston board member and leader of the Young Professionals in Energy. Matt, great to have you on the program.
Good to be here, Paul. Thanks for having me.
Well, let's talk about one of your day jobs, Aon Energy. Tell us a little bit about the company and your role in it.
Sure. Aon is the largest commercial energy insurance broker in the country and globally. I work in the business development group, so I'm out calling on energy folks that deal with the big complex issues of risk and insurance.
All right, so who are you working with?
So we work with all facets of the energy business, from the national oil companies down to your independent upstream companies to the service companies. And these days, what we're seeing in the marketplace is a lot of the environmental issues that are going on in the in the shale plays that is kind of the #1 topic that is being talked about a lot. So we have an environmental group within Aon that does nothing but writes case studies and white papers on how to insure our energy clients against the threat of litigation, lawsuits, or claims if there were to have issues from these frac jobs that they're performing in the shales.
So when do our viewers pick up the phone and call Matt?
Most times after there's a massive claim that goes on and their current provider just can't get the deal closed or done, as well as if they are feeling a lot of pressure from their insurance carriers from a premium increase. They would call us and ask us for our expertise of what we could do different.
Well, let's switch gears. Tell me about this Young Professional and Energy Group.
So YPE was founded in 2005 by two gentlemen that were trying to get into grad school, Mike Toplitsky and Stephen Cravens. One was going to Harvard, the other to Kellogg in Chicago. And about 3 in the morning, they were in the investment banking world. On the application to each school, it said, "What have you done for the community?" And neither of them had anything that they had done relatively that was purposeful to the community. So they got in a huge ruckus, like, we're not going to get into grad school, we're not going to get into grad school. And so they started this group, and initially it started off with their contacts at their portfolio companies with their clients, and so they just went out and started, let's get together and meet for happy hour, and then it morphed into the premier global social networking organization for young professionals.
Well, yeah, I was about to say, so from those humble beginnings, the membership is what now?
We started with 350 members in '05, and today Houston alone has 7,500 members, 20,000 globally. We have 21 chapters, Houston being the focal point of it. So we stretch from Houston to Austin, Shreveport, Dallas, New Orleans, Denver, Tulsa, Oklahoma City, New York, DC, London, Equatorial New Guinea, Seoul. I mean, we're everywhere. So we're out. We have a great website. It's ypenergy.org. You can join. It's free to join. So it's been a tremendous group to be a part of.
Well, and tell me about the membership.
I guess your average member is someone that recently graduated from college, is from the age range of 22 to 27. Is either working as an engineer, a lawyer, or in the finance world, and they usually attend our monthly happy hours that we have. We have a tremendous amount of other events that take place. We have a breakfast series that goes on a monthly basis, and we have some charitable relationships with the Friends of St. Jude that we host a crawfish boil with. So a lot of our members come out and enjoy those events.
And I've heard about these breakfast series. Can you tell the audience about some of the speakers that have showed up?
Sure. In the past, we've had CEOs of oilfield service companies. We've had lawyers such as yourself, Paul. We've also had HR professionals come speak. And most times we have, I'd say, we average 75 to 110 members that show up.
Well, and so that's the Houston group, and then you have an annual event?
We have an annual event. It was started by our two founders, called our Senior Cocktail Leadership Reception. And what it does is it gives our membership a chance to network with the senior leaders of today in the same place and room. And we usually reach for the stars when we try and get quality speakers to come in. In the past, we've had the late Matt Simmons come talk about his peak oil. The following year after that, we had a board talk about the cap and trade Waxman bill that was taking place in '09. Last year, we had Gil Goodrich come speak about shale gas. And then this year, we had Jack Moore from Cameron and Gary Luquette from Chevron come and speak. And so it gives our membership a chance to network and just rub shoulders with some of the senior leaders, because at the end of the day, our membership wants to be those senior leaders of tomorrow.
All right, so one more time for the audience. Those looking to join?
Go to our website. It's ypenergy.org. It's free to join, and it takes 5 minutes. And once you join, you'll be on our newsletter, and you'll see events. You can pick and choose if you want to attend certain events.
Well, Matt, great to see you.
Thanks, Paul.
And that concludes this episode of the Energy Makers Show, heard on the radio nationwide and seen right here at TheEnergyMakers.com. I'm Paul Dickerson, and we'll see you next week.